The morning wind cut sharp across the plains, carrying dust and frost in the same breath. The horizon was painted in gold and grey, that in-between moment when the land didn't yet belong to the sun or the night. She rode alone, reins tight in her hands, her hat low against the wind, her coat worn thin by miles of stubbornness. She had come too far to turn back now. The letter still burned in her pocket, the one that said property auctioned. Final sale, 12 cents. It sounded like a joke, but she wasn't one to laugh at miracles. The horse's hooves clopped on frozen ground as she climbed the last hill. And there it was, a cabin perched against the jagged ribs of the mountain, small but standing proud against a sky full of winter. Smoke didn't rise from the chimney. The place looked abandoned, like time had forgotten it, but she could feel something stirring, that unexplainable hum of life that always lingers in places meant to be lived in. She drew a breath so deep it hurt her ribs. The cabin was hers now, 12 cents of hope. 12 cents for a dream no one else wanted. The land was rough, the mountain harsher, and the nearest neighbor 10 miles away. But she'd known loneliness before, and it never scared her half as much as giving up did. She dismounted, boots crunching against gravel, and pushed the creaky gate open. That's when she saw him. At first, she thought it was a scarecrow, something left by the last owner to keep wolves off. But the shape was too big, too human. A man, or the remains of one, hung from the gatepost by his wrists, rope biting deep into muscle. His boots scraped the ground, his head bowed forward beneath a mane of tangled hair. She froze. The horse snorted, uneasy. Her hand went instinctively to the rifle slung across her shoulder. For a heartbeat, she didn't breathe. Then a sound. A hoarse, broken exhale. The man was alive. She rushed forward, knife in hand, slicing through the rope. He dropped like a felled tree, hitting the dirt hard. She knelt beside him, pulse racing. His face was half hidden beneath grime and beard, but his size was impossible to miss. He was huge, a mountain of a man, broad across the chest, built like the wilderness itself. Scars crisscrossed his arms. Whoever he was, he hadn't been tied up for long, but long enough to look half dead. "Hey," she said softly, shaking his shoulder. "Can you hear me?" He groaned, the sound low and raw. She turned him gently, brushing dirt from his face. His lips were split, his eyes fluttering open just enough to meet hers, a deep grey, clouded with pain and something older, heavier. "Water," he rasped. She ran to her saddlebag and brought back her canteen, tipping it to his lips. He drank in gulps, choking slightly, but life flickered behind his gaze again. "Who did this to you?" she asked. He coughed, his voice rough as gravel. "Men looking for me. Didn't want me reaching the ridge." She frowned, glancing around. The hills were quiet, too quiet. "You're safe now. Whoever they are, they're gone." He tried to sit up, but his strength failed. She caught him, her hands pressed against his chest, solid muscle beneath torn fabric. His heartbeat strong, stubborn, refusing to quit. "Why were they after you?" He looked past her, eyes scanning the tree line, as if ghosts still followed him. "Because I found something I shouldn't have." A shiver traced her spine. The words hung heavy in the cold air, full of secrets. She helped him inside the cabin, each step a battle between exhaustion and will. The place smelled of old wood and damp earth. She set him by the hearth and went to light a fire. Sparks caught, warmth began to crawl across the floorboards. He sat still, his gaze flickering toward the flames, as if remembering another fire, another time. "You bought this place?" he finally asked, voice slow but steady. She nodded. 12 cents and a signature. Nobody else wanted it. They said the mountain cursed it. A grim smile ghosted across his face. Maybe they were right. She turned toward him. "You believe in curses?" "I've seen worse than curses," he muttered. "Names carved in trees, graves without markers, men disappearing in fog." His eyes lifted to hers. "Steady now." "This mountain keeps what it wants." She swallowed, forcing a steady tone. "Then maybe it'll keep me too." For a moment, silence filled the cabin, broken only by the crackle of fire. She handed him a blanket and sat opposite him, rifle resting across her knees. Outside, wind howled through the pines like a warning. "You got a name?" she asked. He hesitated. "Used to." Don't much use it anymore. Well, I'm gonna need something to call you, big fella. Mountain Man sounds too much like a ghost story. That almost earned a laugh. Call me whatever you want, he said quietly. You saved my life. That's more than most ever did. The way he said it made her chest tighten. There was hurt buried deep in that voice, the kind that didn't heal easy. She looked out the window toward the ridge, where the wind danced like spirits over snow. Something about this mountain felt alive, and now so did her purpose. Tomorrow, she'd start clearing the land, fixing the fence, maybe even plant something by spring. But tonight, as the fire warmed the cold and the stranger's breathing evened out beside her, she knew her life had just changed. And far beyond the cabin walls, in the shadows of the pines, someone watched, waiting for the dawn, for the woman who bought the cursed cabin for 12 cents, and the man she wasn't supposed to find. The morning after was gray and biting cold. Mist crawled through the pines, wrapping the cabin in ghostly stillness. She woke before the sun, fed the fire, and stepped outside with her rifle slung low. The mountain loomed like a sleeping beast, its breath rolling in clouds of fog. For a moment she stood there, wondering what kind of story she had walked into. The stranger still slept inside, his body broken but breathing strong. When she returned, he was awake, sitting near the fire, his eyes sharp and distant, like a man used to danger. "You're up," she said, setting a tin of coffee on the hearth. "Didn't mean to fall asleep," he muttered. "Figured I owed you for keeping me alive." "You can start by telling me your name," she replied. He studied her for a long moment before answering. "Calder," he said finally. "Elias Calder," she nodded. "Well, Calder, you've got about 100 questions to answer. Starting with who tied you to my gate." He didn't speak right away. His jaw tightened, his hands fisted in the blanket. "Men from a mining company," he said at last. "They want something that's buried up here, and they think I know where it is." Her brows lifted. "Gold?" He shook his head. "Not gold, older, stranger, a cavern full of bones carved with symbols. I stumbled on it months ago while hunting. They followed me ever since." The room fell silent, the only sound the fire popping between them. She had heard stories, whispers of bones and curses in the high country, of miners who vanished without a trace. She thought they were just tales to scare children, but the look in Calder's eyes said otherwise. "They came last week," he continued. "Wanted me to show them the cavern. I refused. Said it wasn't meant to be found again. So they left me hanging at that gate to die slow." She exhaled, steadying herself. "Then you're safe here for now. This land's mine, and I aim to keep it that way." He looked up at her, something fierce and almost grateful in his eyes. "You don't know what you've bought, do you?" "Maybe not," she said. "But it's mine now. 12 cents and a promise." For the first time he smiled, faint and tired. "You're braver than most folks I've met." By noon the sun cut through the mist, turning frost into glitter. She worked outside, mending a broken fence while Calder limped out to help, still pale but stubborn. Every move he made showed strength, quiet and deep. The kind of man who'd carried his own ghosts for too long. They worked in silence, broken only by the crunch of boots on snow and the creak of wood. When she handed him a hammer, their hands brushed, a fleeting touch but enough to stir something unspoken between them. "Why stay?" he asked after a while. "This mountain's no place for peace." She wiped sweat from her brow. "Because I've run my whole life. I'm done running. This place, it feels like a beginning." Calder nodded, but his gaze drifted toward the ridge. "Then you should know. Beginnings here often come with blood." As dusk settled, the mountain darkened. Coyotes howled in the distance. They ate in silence by the fire, the flicker of flames dancing across their faces. Outside, a shadow moved near the tree line, slow, deliberate. Calder stiffened, hand reaching for the rifle. "You expecting company?" he whispered. She shook her head. "Ain't nobody for miles." Then came the sound, a low crunch of boots on frost. 1, 2, then silence. Calder motioned for her to stay put and moved toward the door, his massive frame gliding like a shadow. He peered out through the slit between boards. 3 men stood near the gate, lanterns dimmed, rifles slung. The same ones, maybe, who'd left him for dead. The leader's voice drifted across the cold air. "We know he's alive. Hand him over, lady, and you keep your land." Her pulse pounded.
Calder turned to her, eyes hard.
"They won't stop. You let them in, they'll kill us both." She squared her shoulders, loaded the rifle, and stepped beside him. "Then we don't let them in." The night burned bright with defiance. The cabin, the land, the mountain, all seemed to hold its breath. She'd bought this place for 12 cents, but now it demanded a price far greater. As the men closed in, Calder whispered, "No matter what happens, don't run."